Who's got mics I need to be mic'd up with?
We're just gonna leave them there.
Just leave
Make it easier for you.
Thank you.
Judge Sakai was going to want to make a couple opening remarks, and we'll open it up to questions.
Okay. All right. We ready to go, guys? Good afternoon. I'm the County Judge Peter Sakai, and I've asked for this press conference in regards to the efforts this week that I have made since this issue has come to, obviously, to the community. And I want to make this opening statement, and then I will defer to question and answers. First, I want to remind everybody, that I'm a former district court judge. I am dedicated to respect and obey the rule of law. I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution and the laws of this state and the United States. And that was what I used as a basis for being the being the county judge at this time. I'm also, as a former district court judge, held to higher standards of judicial ethics, which is higher than my colleagues. And that is a set of ethics that I maintain as county judge. So I want it real clear. I respect the rule of law, and I'm very mindful of judicial ethics. I also want to say, in regards to the incidences, in regards to the police officers and people who have basically been under circumstances where police officers have gotten hurt, and obviously some people have suffered some significant injuries or death as a result of their confrontations with law enforcement. I am committed to law enforcement and to make sure that our community is safe. I have said in my campaign, and I say today, that public safety is the paramount concern, and I continue to put public safety at the top of the issues for Bexar County. And so, to show you what my commitment is in regards to public safety, to make our criminal justice system a more effective and efficient system, we need to protect our community, and we need to respect the rights of all citizens, Constitution or statutory or otherwise. And it's important that when we do this, we got to bring all the stakeholders together. People sometimes have a hard time understanding how the court system works, how our criminal justice system works. Let me give you an example so that the public can better understand. I see the criminal justice system as the four-legged stool in order that this process moves forward. One, you have law enforcement. Through the county, it's the sheriff, Sheriff Javier Salazar, who has deputies and has to run a jail for the protection of our community. Two, you have the district attorney's office that files cases and puts people in jail if necessary. Three, you have the judicial system who has to hear cases, set bonds, determine whether or not that person should be released, make sure that their constitutional rights are protected, or else we're going to keep redoing trials because the rights were not followed. And so it is important, finally, to recognize that the fourth leg is Commissioner's Court. And how are we involved? We have to pay for it. And we pay for it with taxpayer money. And so I must be mindful and protective of the money we use. And I must be a good steward of taxpayer money. And so the complexity of this is this. That wooden stool that I just explained to you is bound by the pegs, right? And if the pegs and the legs are strong, that stool will withstand any weight. And that's what I want to do. Those pegs are what I call communication, collaboration, and coordination. And that's how we move our criminal justice forward. We look at how we support law enforcement. We look to see how we can help our district attorney's office and the prosecutors therein. How do we support our judges? and the judicial system. And finally, as Commissioner's Court, I have to determine the priorities of how we spend our taxpayer money. And I'm making it real clear today that public safety has been a campaign promise and something that I've done from day one as county judge. Let me give you examples. I helped craft an agreement among the deputies, the deputy union, the sheriff, in regards to deputy pay. And we have given them a significant pay raise, pay increase. We have helped try to create a better environment at the jail by funding a exercise recreation room so that they have an ability. I've even looked and brought the people who make the food for the deputies who work 24/7. And I am trying to make sure that the deputies are getting the best quality services by the monies we spend in our commissary, and to make sure that our deputies are taken care of. I also worked on the district attorney's office, who asked for more money for their prosecutors. And we did that. And we helped increase the pay so that the district attorney's office could compete with all the surrounding counties and the metropolitan county, so that our prosecutors will stay, live, and work in Bexar County. We also have innovation called impact courts. And I'm committed to keep impact courts, which is basically overflow courts, to hear criminal cases. I need the criminal justice system to work, but it's going to take those four legs of the stool to make this work. And that's what I did this past week. And that's where you got a press release yesterday issued by the City of San Antonio and Bexar County, approved by me and the mayor. And I have had conversations all week long to make sure that the sheriff was on board, to make sure the district attorney was on board, and that the judges are on board. And I'm proud to say I had conversations with Sheriff Salazar, District Judge Ron Hell, and what's the other one? No, the what?
District Attorney.
The District Attorney Joe Gonzalez. And I think perhaps it's been misinterpreted that I was not willing to talk to the press, but as you can see today, I have made myself available. I have made my statement, and at this time, I will pause for question and answer.
Sir, you mentioned that you've made yourself available, but that was only after repeated requests. Why is it that we are just hearing from you now?
Because I had conversations with the mayor, and I recall the first conversation was this past Tuesday, as best my recollection. And then after that conversation, I had conversations with Joe Gonzalez, the DA. I had conversations with Sheriff Salazar. I had conversations with Ron Rangel. We had to work to come to an agreement to bring everybody together. I'm asking our community, I'm asking our elected officials, let's not point fingers and blame. I bring expertise and experience to the criminal justice system that I can provide solutions as to how we can protect the community, especially repeat criminal offenders, that the courts can be more efficient, that perhaps we need statutory assistance because county is an extension of the state. And so we don't have home rule, which we have city ordinances. No, we follow our orders from the state of Texas, and we must stay within those rules. So Garrett, what I'm saying is I had a lot of work to do, and because as a former district court judge, I wanted to respect the privacy and the confidentiality of some of these conversations. And I'm proud to say with that came a start of the process. It's just a start to bring all the stakeholders together who are committed to work together. And the mayor, Mayor Nirenberg, and the police chief, Bill McManus, are also coming to the table along with other stakeholders who we will identify as we get this process to go.
Aside from that discussion, are there any other concrete actions that have come out of those discussions that you've had beyond the fact you will be having this round table? You talked about spending, but these are things that have happened in the past, what will be happening differently going forward?
We got to get all the stakeholders to the table, Garrett, and we've got to get consensus, and we've got to come to an agreement. And then I have to make the decision along with the mayor and council and me with my county commissioners, how much it's going to cost and what are the programs that we're going to put into effect. I need to have a conversation with the judges. They're the third branch of government. I do not control or direct how our judges rule on the bench. I was a former district court judge. It's called a separation of branch of government. And so, to answer your question, Garrett, we are coming together to provide you those solutions. And I will tell you today, I'm committed, depending on the circumstance and the confidentiality of those conversations, to come with those concrete solutions. And I'm confident that I, as a former district court judge, I, as a former assistant DA in magistrate court, as a judge who sat in magistrate court, as a former chief of juvenile section, 26 years on the district court bench, I will give you those answers when we have consensus and agreement and we can move forward with programs that will be approved by the council. An example of that is the Collaborative Commission on Domestic Violence. Yes, domestic violence is still an issue. Yes, we have a lot of work to do, but we came together and we started a conversation and you got everybody working together. So Garrett, I believe I've answered your question. So let me pause. We got other people and the reporters in the room.
On August 24 was the first time that Jeff McManus say on Twitter or X about why those individuals are not behind the bars.
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion about it?
That's something we need to discuss with the sheriff, with the DA, and the judges. It's a complex issue, and I'm not trying to be vague and ambiguous. I'm telling you, I got to dig down, and I have to ultimately hold those elected officials accountable to their oath to uphold the Constitution. I am confident, and I've talked to these 3 county officials, they are also too committed to public safety. So we will come up with solutions, and I have provided today that this is the first step in getting to a resolution. Otherwise, all we're doing is talking. And I am not prepared to just talk this away. I am prepared to come with solutions to protect our community and to protect our law enforcement. But at the same time, let's also remember we have to respect the rights of all citizens.
Have you talked with the chief? You mentioned several county officials, but it was his department that was involved in all these cases.
Out of protocol, I have been talking to the mayor.
And what about the, you mentioned that with the district attorney's office giving more money for prosecutors, does that come with the expectation of catching up on felony cases that haven't been indicted from years back?
That's what we need to look at.
How
That
much-
is an issue that I will have to ask the DA. Do you still have a backlog? What resources do you need? Where are the gaps falling? I will tell you, and I will tell you one of the issues I believe, and we need to give everybody an opportunity, from the police chief to the district attorney to the judges to the pretrial services to probation to our state system of the people that go to prison. We know that many people get housed in our Bexar County jail. I'm going to have to look at the whole population of our Bexar County jail to determine why mentally ill people that have been declared mentally competent are still stuck in our Bexar County jail. The Bexar County jail is full, and I have, with the assistance of the judges, and this is another example of how I came to resolution and solutions. I sat down with Judge Rangel at the first of the year, and I told them to get into full capacity with trials. And I think y'all cover those and know that the judges are working hard, and I appreciate the hard work that the judges give because it has lowered jail population. The state has now stepped up to take their prisoners out of the jail, but we still have, unfortunately, people that have mental illness, significant mental health, and I'm questioning whether they are a threat to themselves or our community and why they can't be released, as opposed to the repeat offenders that y'all are making reference to. We have limited resources. We may have to increase those resources to make sure that the people who are committing violent crimes are kept off the streets.
You mentioned that the confidential.
Okay, hold on, Garrett. Let me hear from her.
Why has it taken until now, where we see police officers injured, to get everybody at the table and discuss this? Because it seems like this is a problem that's been slowly growing over time.
Well, unfortunately, I believe that the district attorney and the chief of police have a difference of opinion. And so I trust that the district attorney and the police chief could sit down and work it out. It is apparent after all these incidences, I need to get involved. And that's why I'm stepping up today. That's why I want to get involved, because the talk that has been existing during these whole incidences, we haven't moved forward with any solutions. And I promise the community that we will have those solutions, and we'll come back and I'll be open and transparent so that y'all will know what the work of our committee will be, understanding that some parts of that committee may need to maintain confidentiality because of the sensitive issues we may talk about.
You mentioned confidentiality and transparency, so are we to understand that these roundtable discussions will not be that they will be behind closed doors?
Those are yet to be determined, because Garrett, confidentiality is based in statute. If we violate people's constitutional rights, we put out public information that is private, that subjects the county and the city to liability. And that's the reason why I, as county judge, have to lead the charge along with the mayor so that we follow the law, that we address the needs, and that we come up with solutions. And I truly believe we are moving forward in the most positive way. Whether those meetings, hearings are open, I can't answer that till I set the ground rules along with all the other elected officials, including the city of San Antonio. Some electeds may not be willing to come to the table, but I'm telling you now, county officials have given me their pledge and commitment that they'll be at the table. Let me hear from you.
Yeah, speaking of solutions, how soon do you think that these changes will be implemented? Just
Well, I gotta get everybody together. I don't know about the city, but I am presently in a budget process. And there are a lot of discussions and a lot of issues, and that's the discussion about taxpayer money. I have certain commissioners that want certain things, and yet I have a duty to the taxpayers to try to keep the tax rate either at the same or lower, and to be very mindful of what expenses we do. Nothing's worse than create a program or solution that does nothing to help our law enforcement or the citizens. I will not do that as county judge.
Do you have any time frame on those meetings? Any possible?
I am convening as soon as possible. I just need to get past this budget. I presume and predict that I will have finished it by next week. And so as soon as that budget process is finished, I will then put all my efforts into this committee and to lead with the mayor to come up with those solutions that you're asking for. And that way, the mayor and I can come together. And this is another example, I think, is an example of the communication and the collaboration between the city and county. I have found that in the past, that has been an issue, and sometimes the city and county haven't worked together, but the rights and the protection of this community is of paramount. And that's the reason why now I've invited all of you in to make sure that this committee knows I'm engaged, I'm aware, and I promise to bring solutions to the table. And Garrett, I will try to make the process open and transparent to the best of my ability, knowing I have to respect the law.
The district attorney has said that until the law changes, we're not going to see a lot of movement on this. So at what point does the state come to the table? When do those stakeholders get involved to change the law that you all have to follow?
Once I hear from all the stakeholders, then I will then put a plan and a process together to submit to our local legislative delegation what changes of statute we need. Do we need to jail the bail issues? We've gone through, I just started this year, but I can tell you as a former district court judge, we've gone to some shifts of policy and perhaps has affected this issue today. There was a tremendous pressure to get our jail population under control. Perhaps we need to relook at that and say we've gone too far, and we got to make sure that people who are a threat, and we perhaps need to look at whether we are using threat assessments so that somebody who has a violent criminal offense isn't given a PR bond, a personal recognizance bond. We got to make sure that bonds not only protect the citizens and keeping people locked up, but it also means we got to respect the individual's right to a fair bond. That is the law. And I understand sometimes our community has a hard time balancing that all out. So I want y'all to understand this is a tough job. And I've got a tough job to do, and I'm going to do it. I'm stepping up. And I hope that y'all understand that the silence on my part was not a disrespect to you, the media, but to put something together. And I am now telling you that I have total commitment from the city and the electeds that we're coming together very soon, within the next week or two, at the very least, to start coming together, identifying who's missing, and if we need legislative changes, I may have to make sure that a legislature person is in the room, and we'll come up with whatever rule changes and law changes we need.
We've got time for about 2 more questions.
What would you say to, like, today, Tony Gonzalez and some of the police union people were saying things like, go to war over getting him to do his job and stuff. What would you say to that? That going to war, it sounds like they're pretty serious.
If that was the solution, then I'll be honest with you, this would be easy, wouldn't it? What we need to do instead of going to war, we need to come up with solutions that everybody will accept and we can take the buy-in. I already explained that this system is not just one person or one agency or department or elected official. It will take all those people that I've identified to come up with a solution. So I understand the frustration, and I think, I believe it's Congressman Gonzalez, he's on point. But also too, I will remind everybody that the war on drugs that was happened in the 80s wasn't also successful. So sometimes just going to war does not provide solutions. And that's the reason why I'm asking people to pause. I'm asking people to be deliberative. I'm asking people to communicate. I'm asking people to collaborate. I'm asking people then to come to the table with solutions.
There's the town hall on Monday with Borchak Garcia, the DA, and Chief Will McManus. Are you going to be there?
Yes, I will. If time permitting, I have to double check my schedule. Don't know if that I don't think I was invited to that, so I want to make sure that I follow proper protocol.
Judge, just one quick question. Since this has been going on and we're here because of that, both McManus, Mr. Gonzalez, been trading barbs and with us. First, there are 2 adults. Does it surprise you that they were doing that before actually calling each other, sitting down and come to an agreement? Why were you, you had to do this?
I have to do this because that type of conversation, that type of relationship isn't going to fix anything. And that's the reason why I am basically putting myself in front, and I have no problem with you media holding me accountable. I understand the appearance of me not responding. I would just ask the media to please respect that I was trying to put something together, which I have done. I have announced yesterday, and I will announce today, that we have put a city-county commission together to solve this complicated, complex issue. And I have no doubt that we will come up with recommendations that may require statutory changes. Perhaps we need to change some policies and ask the judges to please be more respectful, that when we have a violent offender, hey, let's set a higher bond, and understand we may have to change some of the bail bond rules, and also understand that I got to make sure that the DA and the sheriff, ultimately the city is responsible for the police chief, that they have the manpower, they have the resources, they have everything they need to do to better protect our community.
What was the
Are you going
response of
to-
the,
guys,
what
we're
what
gonna
was
cut
the
this off.
response of
We're
the
gonna do a
chief?
little-
What was
hold
the
on,
response
sir.
of the chief?
Right.
Come on,
We're gonna do
come
a
on.
little Spanish translation.
We're gonna,
Spanish is not gonna be the
are you
same.
relate, let me just, can I ask you to
You also-
pause and I'll
We were
talk?
not invited to the party, so.
Okay. Yes.
Can I ask in Spanish?
Sure. Well, I have,
We're finishing up the English portion.
I'm
then
gonna,
we're do some
let me
Spanish
be
translation.
respectful to the Spanish language. I have staff that is fluent so that we can make sure that people who speak Spanish understand everything I've done today. I think it's important that all sectors of our community are aware of the efforts I'm making to better protect our community and to provide the resources to those that need it. And hold those accountable for the money that we're already spending. Can the courts work more effectively and more effectively? Can the sheriff, now understand, in this last budget year, we gave the sheriff 62 more deputies. We gave him 12 positions that had been frozen. We gave them 50 additional. We gave them substantial increases in pay to the deputies, and we're trying to make their work environment a better place. We also adopted the sheriff's request to straight to the streets. And what I've heard from the sheriff in his report, he's got 25 cadets, deputies ready to go into the law enforcement because they qualify. And so I think you're gonna start seeing the stabilization in the sheriff's office, and that's an example of how we can resolve this. We have concrete solutions to complex issues. I think we need to wrap it up, guys.
We wanna do.
And then
the
Spanish
station.
language.
Stick around, we've got a.
Thank you,
we
Josh.
got
Thank
somebody
you,
who can
guys.
interpret. This is Cynthia Kosh, she works in the judge's office and.
Yeah, this,
Perfecto.
hold on.
Thank you,
Hold on
Josh.
a second.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Did you wanna stay?
The only reason I'm late because we did never receive whatever invitation
Okay,
was.
we're gonna fix that.
made.
Okay.
You're all right.
Can I have an opportunity to speak to the Spanish language media, please?